How many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy Monday. We're counting down now the days to Christmas.
Have you done all your Christmas shopping?
Have I done my Christmas?
Yeah.
Have I done my Christmas
That's
shopping?
the question.
That's the question.
Yes.
How dare you even ask me that question?
And the answer
Because
is?
the answer is absolutely, positively beyond a shout, no.
I thought you were going to say that. Yeah. The best sales are after Christmas. Anyway, but
Yeah,
that kind
so
of
you can wait. As Christmas is just a day.
It defeats the purpose, though, doesn't it? Huh? The big
As long as they
story.
have mine under the tree, that's okay.
The big story over the weekend, in my opinion, was the drones. And, you know, I've spent a lot of time thinking, when you are an older guy, you can do this, you know. You can sit around, do a lot of thinking, pontificating, you know. I had some thoughts, and I wanted to throw these out there if you got just a couple of minutes. Let me throw these things out there, and then we can talk back and forth about them. Okay, these have been going on for over a month now in the New Jersey area. New Jersey, parts of New York. They've sighted them in certain areas in Philadelphia and eastern Pennsylvania. And I guess now they've sighted them as far south as Maryland. I mean, they're
Wisconsin.
The sightings are growing. I heard that too. Yes,
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin,
and I heard
everywhere.
on the West Coast had sightings too.
Now there's some interesting things going on with these sightings, but anyway.
Okay, I wanted to. I was thinking about this. I was thinking, wait a second. If the government thought that we were being invaded by unknown aircraft in the New York area, what would the first thing that they would do? They would shut down airspace. They would close airports. Now, they did close over the weekend for an hour a small airport just about 60 miles north of New York called Stewart International Airport, probably the size of a postage stamp, you know. But anyway,
no, it's actually a good-sized airport. I drive by it.
Really? Well, I'd never heard of it, Bill. Maybe I just
if
never.
it's the one I'm thinking, you go up 84, it's right there. It's an international airport.
Well, I know there's Bradley International Airport in the Hartford area, and that's up. You travel by that, but Stewart, I never heard of, but that's okay. Let's say it is, as you say, a larger airport, but it was closed for an hour, and then they reopened it. Okay, the closure was because of a drone sighting in the area. But LaGuardia stays open, Kennedy stays open. Newark stays open. Philadelphia stays open. All these big airports, nothing slowed down or stopped. Okay, so what is it because? What does it make sense to you that you have all these, 30, 40 drones the size of SUVs flying into the area? Don't you think there'd be closures? I mean, of the major airports, but there aren't. Okay. Well, let me continue the thoughts that I had. Okay, I'm going to play a cut in a second by a guy who made me really do some serious thinking. His name is John Ferguson.
Yep, no, he is.
Okay, John Ferguson is, for those who don't know who he is the CEO of a drone manufacturing company out in the Kansas City area. I think it's Wichita area. I'm sorry. Wichita, Kansas. And he makes drones for the government. He's been doing it successfully for years. He has some thoughts, and I had thought actually about what he's talking about here before I heard this cut. I heard this cut for the first time this morning before the program. And I thought, wow, he and I are on the same page, and he has more knowledge. This is John Ferguson, CEO of the Saxon Drone Company. They make them for the government.
Hey, everyone. My name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military-grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay? We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that come up missing here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, you mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature, because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient, before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying and flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground. Gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever.
That's John Ferguson from Saxon Aerospace. They make drones for the government and other businesses. Right. And so they don't, he believes they're searching for something, which I do too. Earlier on, we heard about the Coast Guard. They were off the coast of New Jersey, and they had, I think they said about 30 drones following one of their vessels. Now, you can't tell me that the captain of that vessel didn't call ahead and say, I have unmanned, unrecognizable drones on my stern. Can I take one out? And I think the answer to him was no. No, just let them fly, ignore them, all right? That's my opinion.
Right.
Okay, now, I did think over the weekend before I heard this report about the idea of nuclear warheads. And I thought, okay, who's looking for them? And why is the government being so damn dumb about it? Maybe it's because the government doesn't know. Maybe the government... Let me finish. This is still part of the theory. The government may, the Mayorkas and all these guys and who say, we don't have any clue what it is or we're searching. Let's say hypothetically the Space Force, which was set up by who? It was set up by Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Yeah, it's early, friends. Sorry about that. It was set up by Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump started the Space Force. Is there some special allegiance to Donald Trump that we're unaware of? The Space Force and Trump, might they be searching for the nuclear weapons, and the government really isn't aware as to who's flying these things around? Just a thought, okay? Anyway, I'm sure you want to jump in. I know you have a lot of thoughts, and you probably have something that I haven't thought of.
Well, there's a lot of backstory on this. We mentioned Trump. You mentioned Space Force. Trump actually said shoot him down. So I'm sitting there going, so Trump is not in the know, and he's the incoming president. He should be constantly being briefed on everything that's going on.
True.
And this administration's not. This administration's not doing anything. Is it because they don't know, or they do know and they don't care, or it's part of a plan? I'm going to reverse it a little bit there. The fact that drones, they can't see crap at night. They can see a lot of stuff at night. They just don't have to have a person on board. And as far as, sensing radioactive material, they can sit there and sense out different types of isotopes.
Right.
So they could be looking for something. The fact that they come in with their lights blaring
Right.
leaves question, why are they doing that? Because
You're right.
You got to wonder.
If they wanted to be stealth, they come in with their lights off.
Yeah, and, because what that says, if we are looking for something, it's signaled to the world we don't have a frickin' clue, and that's even more scary. The fact that there's a warhead sitting in our United States ready to go, well, I actually believe that.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that's a happening because there's other things that are going on. Unrelated story where, a former military person with Venezuela said, well, get ready for targeted assassinations, which goes on there. We have become that because they see that people do something, they get released. Like in other nations, we've become or are about to see that happening too, where you'll see police chiefs or mayors or governors or presidents get targeted, and that's how they do business. And
it's already happened, Bill. We already had an attempt on Trump,
but they didn't get it yet.
Right.
So it makes you wonder who's in charge, what's in charge.
Well,
and you mentioned Mayorkas. Let me just say his stupid saying. Mayorkas came out and talked about the drones and goes, "Don't worry, we're on it." Really?
Yep. Here's what
like
he
you were the
said,
border
Bill.
wall?
Let's bring in Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. Can you clear up the confusion here?
Absolutely, George, and thank you very much for having me. There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings. Some of those drone sightings are in fact drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones, and we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. And so that is the reality. But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded.
What exactly do you need?
We want state and local authorities to also have the ability to counter drone activity under federal supervision. That is one important element that we have requested, and we've heard it echoed by the state and local officials themselves.
One of this administration's biggest liars, blatant liar, Alejandro Mayorkas. The guy's can't be trusted. He said over and over again that there's no problem at the border. The border is secure. Everybody knows that that was a lie. He was impeached. He wasn't removed, but he was impeached by Congress. And the guy, forget being impeached. He should be in prison for treason for what this guy has done. And he's done so with a calmness and an evil that is unparalleled. The guy is amazing. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, there's a lot of players in this whole thing. So let's say we're searching for a nuke. I have a lot of feelings on that. Did it come over from the Ukraine? Maybe one did. Are there nukes here that have already been here that might be our own, that have maybe slipped out of where it was stored? Because, when we de-armed and took, we decommissioned warheads, they might have come off the missile, but they were put on trucks. I know this for a fact. And they were taken to, I know one place in Chicago, one place in Dallas, downtown Dallas, an underground facility there that's under big popular buildings. And looking at all of this, You could sit there and take. I would be sending the sniffers there. Yeah, you're going to sniff the one thing, but I'm sure they could focus it, because I'm thinking that, well, let's say you've got a storage facility that's got 3,000 or 4,000 decommissioned warheads. All right, you hit that and get those to chain react and all go at once. You'll not only blow a hole through the planet, you'll blow it off its axis.
Do you know how many abandoned subway tunnels there are in New York City? I mean, when I say abandoned, I mean they're just let go. I mean, nobody protects them or secures them. They're just there. You can go in. You can spend quite a long period of time just exploring the underground. As a matter of fact, under Grand Central Terminal in New York, which a lot of people don't realize, there's the upper level, which is has trains, and then there's a level below it, which has trains. Then there's a level below it you don't see, which has the furnace and things like that. Then there's about 6 levels below that are abandoned and actually are used by the homeless. The homeless sleep underneath Grand Central Terminal. A lot of people don't realize it. They come in off Park Avenue and go down and they disappear. They live there. Go ahead, Bill.
There are old trolleys that are down there, abandoned,
yeah,
that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but there's no way to get them out without digging you'd have to dismantle it piece by piece and get it out. It's a nightmare. But, you're going back to what the Ferguson said, all right, that it's not nefarious. Now I'm going to throw a curveball in here, all right, because we know that maybe something came through from Russia. We also know that Russia, or the Ukraine, when Ukraine was part of Russia, when the old communist regime went into hiding, there were a lot of nukes there that were unaccounted for, left unattended, that they don't know where all of them are. And Zelensky has a handle on some of those, or access to them, but maybe does, maybe doesn't. But let's just go with this story that these guys aren't up to anything nefarious with the drones. They're looking for a nuke. All right. Let me throw in a thing that there are three governments going on here. There's the good guys, the bad guys, and the nobodies. And the nobodies are what you got to worry about, or maybe the bad guys. But with all of that said, and right now Trump might fall into he's a good guy, but in the nobody, they're not telling him anything, so he's not in the know. Is Biden in the know or not in the know? Now, there is thought that we want to sit there. There are people that want to see the end of the United States, and some of that's the New World Order, the
deep
industrial
state.
Military complex. Yeah, deep state. So let's just say that for a minute that there is this nuke thing going on out there. There's so many possibilities. Could it be that you enter a third element or a fourth element here, that we have a nuke, that they were going to go and pull a Jericho? Remember the movie Jericho? It was out for about 3 or 4 seasons.
The TV series,
and it was about something just like this, where the United States got divided by some nuclear devices that were stolen, and boom, set off all over the United States. If you don't know the show, go watch all 3 seasons of it or 4 seasons of it. It'll blow your mind, literally. So let's just say that they had this nuke that they were going to do something with, and then they lost it. And maybe it's the Biden regime or that group that we don't know about, that they lost it. And they're out there looking for it.
You're speculating, so let me speculate. What I think is a possibility. Here's what we know. We know right now we're on the verge of much of what the deep state has done to the United States being exposed to the world. You got Kash Patel going to the FBI. You other people going to all these different places, and they've promised to put sunlight on the deep and dark crevices of the deep state, and we're going to find out who's doing what and why. Okay, so what are their options? Can they just wait around and wait until this happens,
or do they blow it up and burn it down,
or do you cause so much turmoil that some people think it would be a cause for martial law, that the government could take over under martial law and postpone the new administration for an extended period of time. I'm just saying this is what some people believe, but I do think that if the deep state were doing this, there's a possibility that people in government, senators, would have no clue this is happening because they're not in the know. I know you want to jump in, but I'm trying to, I keep trying to think about how this is going to work, and I want to make sure I got this right. So if the deep state is doing this and most of the government doesn't know about it, then there has to be somebody else out there looking for these, and that's what I think. I think there might be a group of good guys out there that we're not aware of too. Just like there's a deep state, maybe there's a group of people.
There's a good state.
Maybe there's a good state, exactly. Some kind of a patriotic force. I always thought, for example, the Space Force, which was created by Trump, was that new division. It's kind of separate from the Air Force, separate from the Army. Just a thought. I know you want to jump in, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unwrap there. I mean, with the Space Force, but why isn't Trump in the know? Or he says shoot him down, or blah blah this, or blah blah that, or maybe he's just saying that because he does know.
Well, maybe he is in the know. Yeah.
Yeah, but we all speculate on that. But I'm going back. How did this thing get here? All right, if it's not something that was ours, it came from overseas. Remember the Francis C. Scott Bridge?
Yeah.
And the tanker that was there, and then they had to unload it.
Hmm?
Did they sit there and go through each container check of what's on it, each container when they unloaded that, or did they quickly get it off? Could that have been a ruse,
absolutely,
that wreck, to where there was something that got loaded on a truck and carried away?
And how far is Baltimore from New Jersey?
Right, exactly. That was my point. So they're going, okay, it's either here, or it's that they're looking up in Wisconsin, they're looking in Pennsylvania, they're looking along interstate trails, because the one thing that when you carry something, it leaves an isotope trail of some form.
Right.
Even if it's contained, it probably leaves a trail. And so going to his theory, and again, this is all speculation. This is out of the warped mind of Bill Knight, but there could be some validity to what he's saying, that they are looking around. Now, people are talked about drones and everything about that. Drone technology and drones that look like flying saucers, if they're not the regular drones, there was patents on those that go back to 2004. That the government, they're readily available on the internet, and with the mathematical equations and the whole nine yards, I'm sure they've come a long way since then.
They would have closed. They would have closed down airspace too. I mean, seriously, if you had vehicles the size of an SUV just flying willy-nilly around New Jersey, you would have seen Newark close, and it hasn't been. You would have seen LaGuardia close. You would have seen JFK Airport close. You would have seen places like Teterboro close. You did see Stewart, I wasn't even aware it existed that close. Bill, a New Jersey mayor.
Oh, yes.
Listen to what he said.
On the way here, I was on the phone with my OEM team, and we now have guidance coming from the state. And that guidance does say two different things. First of all, if there is a downed drone in our vicinity, we are immediately to call the bomb squad of our county. And second, our fire department has been instructed to make sure they wear hazmat suits.
So if something falls out of the sky that people have seen, and some of these things are as big as an SUV, if that happens, you're to treat this more than a plane crash. It's treated like an attack on the homeland?
That is correct, because they're not quite sure if there's a payload or not.
Okay, the other theory I had, Bill, was this. Let me throw this at you. Now, one theory based upon what the CEO of Saxon Aerospace said is they're looking for something. What if the other theory was that those drones were actually blackmail or a threat to the federal government? What if they got the word to the federal government that we have 100 drones the size of SUVs that were flying around New Jersey, and one of them has a nuclear explosive in it, and if you don't do something, A, B, or C, right, then
we'll blow things up.
We'll start drop. Well, maybe not one, maybe several of them have a nuclear. Why would that mayor be told don't go near it and call people with hazmat suits to come and check it out?
Well, if one's got a bomb, a lot of them have bombs. We've established, and I can tell you the thing that I said about under Dallas and under Chicago, they are there. Now, I can also tell you from just growing up around, well, not growing up, but I worked in Shreveport and in Minden. You see these little, look like bunkers in the side of the road. That's where they kept, and I probably still do. They stored, maybe not in the count, the warheads, the 25 and 50 megaton. Well, actually, I think they were 5, 10, and 25 is what they had there. But you saw these bunkers forever because when I used to fly privately, I used to fly around that. You couldn't go over it. So I'm sure there's a way that somebody nefariously got something. So let's just say that these drones, maybe they are up to something nefarious, but not right now. Maybe what they're doing is to soften us, getting us used to it to where they do go and they deploy and carry out an attack.
Well, I think that whether it be they're looking for nuclear devices or they're carrying a nuclear payload, I think that we have a lot to be worried about. And I don't mean that I'm not trying to frighten people unnecessarily, but I think you have to be. No one's talking the truth to us. No one's talking to us like adults. Hey, nobody's giving us any warning at all. So everything's fine. You hear Mayorkas.
Well, I was just going to say, he's the ticket. What did we learn about him going, we've got it under control with the border?
He's a liar.
Yeah. And so, don't worry, we're on it. He knows. He probably knows. And all he's doing is just putting on that smile on that chrome dome and said, we're on it. We're on it. We got this. Yeah.
Just like they had the border. They had it secured, locked down, and only 15 or 20 million people happened to come across. But nothing.
Maybe that's why Kamala's drunk. She had a job, get into the White House, and she knew it. Now she's getting drunk because she knows what's really out. I don't know. I'm just saying. There's more to the story than meets the eye, whether it's non-nefarious or something that is nefarious and really deep and dark. The fact that these drones are flying, it is not normal at
and
all.
You can't tell me that the government, can't know. Do you know no one talks about this, we have satellites that scan every foot of the planet constantly. Constantly. That's because, for example, if a crime takes place yesterday in Mexico or it happens, they can go back and check it out and see what happened. The government has the ability, thanks to sophisticated satellite imagery, they can go back and see, oh, yeah, they moved from there to there. Oh, I see where they did this. Nothing gets away from the government anymore. It used to be like you had to line up satellites to get in position to get the pictures. Now they're even more sophisticated. They can see everything. I always find it amazing. 20 years ago, they could read the newspaper that you were reading over your shoulder by satellite 25 years ago. Now they can probably check the font size of the print. That's the difference. Anyway, we have gone over half the program and forgot to mention one very important thing, Bill.
Right Side Coffee.
No,
hey guys, get over here. Come on.
That's close. That's close, Bill. That's close, but not quite.
Oh, our anniversary.
Today is the third anniversary of our program. Yes.
Hey, Jim, I was celebrating with a cup of Right Side Coffee.
Oh, were you? Well, then that's the perfect birthday celebration.
I have been celebrating since 5 a.m. this morning with Right Side Coffee.
I'm sure you have.
I did the happy dance after I had my first cup of coffee because, you get up, you're not so happy. It takes the coffee to make me happy.
That's true. Right Side Coffee is available on our website, which is rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. We're getting close to Christmas, You looking for gifts to stick in the Christmas stocking? How about a bag of Right Side coffee? Jim and Bill's Right Side coffee, medium blend and medium decaf blend. If you don't like coffee for some reason, we have some, as Bill would say, swag. We got baseball hats. We've got
Swag.
Sweaters and T-shirts. We got all kinds of stuff. And you will only find it at rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. You were saying about Juan Jose and the border crosses?
Yes, and you know what? Now they're worried about the drones.
Are they really? Well, they should be. They may be looking for them.
That's true.
It's true. You know, the size of SUV, they can land, pick them up, and
Next thing you know, they're going to come in and start singing the jingle backwards.
Who knows? Anyway, Juan Jose and the border crosses, they're here, and they're going to sing for you right now.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous job, guys, as always. Right Side Coffee. Check it out at our rightsideshop.com storefront, all right? Rightsideshop.com.
Drink it if you got it. If you don't got it, you better get it. Otherwise, you can't drink it, and then you will be sad.
You certainly will. So it's an interesting topic, maybe the most important topic we've talked about in a long time. You know, by the way, folks, there's a large element that just doesn't want Trump back in office. They'll do just about anything to keep him out of office. Mm-hmm. And I mean anything to keep him out of office, because they have so much dirt that they're going to uncover when he's sitting there in the Oval Office. What were you saying?
Well, you know, I was going to say, did you hear what happened to Trump's political advisor?
Which one?
At the young, what's his name? I probably didn't write it down, but he's a friend of Barron, does a podcast with him. The guy's 27 years old, one of his political advisors.
Yeah.
Young Republican rally last night. Mm-hmm. This guy is in great shape. Young guy, 27.
Right.
Looking good, and all of a sudden he gets lightheaded, falls over the podium, knocks it into the crowd, and he's in the hospital now.
Wow, I didn't hear about that. Wow.
Yeah, well, it was breaking news just about 30 minutes ago talking about it. But, you know, I look at that. Maybe it's a drone thing, maybe it's not. But I'm looking at all the other phenomena that is going on. He falls ill, all right? And these drones have been over New York. I got a neighbor that fell ill this morning.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. You talked about that before the show. Was he in that area?
He was in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he was doing, you know, he's part of a road crew. And just got back and woke up nauseated, dizzy, and boom.
I wonder if exposure to nuclear...
It does.
Does it make you sick and nauseous and stuff like that?
But then again, now you look at the other thing, you know. Let's say there's the three government theory. You know, the good guys, the bad guys, and the I don't know what's out there. But there's three players, you know. And I look at the weird weather phenomenon because everyone talks about the chemtrails and everything in North Carolina and all the hurricanes we had all at once. Now you got the bomb cyclones that hit the East Coast, but on the West Coast first, and they got hit again. You heard about the one in San Francisco where, for the first time ever, they saw circulation, the Hook cloud, and they had to do a tornado warning in the city of San Francisco. And there's footage of it out there where the thing is doing the thing. Thank God it didn't hold long and it didn't hit anything. But I'm going like, are they doing something?
Well, you know, a lot of people.
And you got people falling ill all over the place.
We played a piece of audio about a week and a half ago from a guy who worked in a station in Antarctica, and the guy said, this is several years ago. I want to say it was 2008, 2010. They were working on manipulating the weather from back there, from down in Antarctica back then. So, look, you don't have to believe this stuff, folks. But here's what you have to believe: that there have been incredible changes in the weather system, and it's not due to the simple thing is, it's the environment. It's global warming. that kind of nauseates me because I've lived long enough to see they went through a whole period of time when it was global cooling. Oh, we're going through global cooling. That didn't hold any water. Then they went to global warming. Now they call it, because they kind of can't figure it all out, they call it climate change.
Well, you heard the latest.
It's called weather, by the way. Go ahead.
New study out now says global warming. They got a new culprit. It is you, Jim, and me. The fact that we breathe. It's humans breathing that is adding to. So everybody take a big collective breath and hold it for 1 minute,
Well, maybe you heard Bill Gates say that the perfect world would have about 5.5 billion people less than it has right now.
Let me ask you a question. Where is Bill Gates in all of this drone stuff and everything else going on? Is he in his bunker?
I think he invested, by the way, seriously, in a drone company. I could be wrong, but I think I read.
No, I think he did.
Yeah.
But he's suddenly silent, and you got to wonder what's going on. We're not safe. No matter what you do, you can run, but you can't hide. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's somebody in charge. Joe is just meandering along. But there's somebody in charge of that Democratic Party that is in lockstep with the deep state. And I'm not making fun of anybody that's a Democrat. The party's got to take it over. There are rhinos in the Republican Party that are probably a part of this. And we need to flush all these internal terrorists and traitors out.
And I think that's what the problem is, Bill. I think they know that when Trump takes office in less than a month, he intends to do just that. And
here's the problem. They hold a lot of keys.
Nothing's worse than a cornered rat. Nothing's more dangerous than a cornered rat. These are cornered rats. So what we're seeing now, maybe this is their last ditch effort. We'll send in the drones. We'll maybe ship some nuclear device via truck. You mentioned your friend that got sick worked on the roads. Well, if he's out directing traffic in Jersey and one of those vehicles goes by him, what if he's a flagman on a road crew and a truck with one of those devices gets stuck next to him in traffic and he spends an extended period of time next to it?
This is the second time that he and or someone else from that particular crew that goes all over the place has run into problems. Some of it was here in Pennsylvania on 81. Some of it is over there in Jersey. And I'm sitting there going, is it now, looking back, is there a coincidence? And then, I don't know what happened to the gentleman last night at the Young Republican convention there. Yeah. Who fell over sick and ill, but this seems to be going around a lot. And I'm starting to wonder if it's not them spraying. Well, maybe they are spraying stuff. Maybe they're not, maybe there's something, if you shoot down a drone, don't go touch it. Don't get near to it because you don't know. It was kind of like that snow story. Now there seems to be more to it than met the eye. In Maine, where in this one particular county, all the snow that was falling was brown. Don't eat it. Don't touch it because it can cause damage to your skin. Now, they said it was some kind of...
They said it was a paper mill,
Paper mill vented something. I'm going, what could they be using that got naturally vented and just all of a sudden got into the atmosphere? And, don't touch that. I mean, seriously?
Well...
I don't know.
I think that, unfortunately... I don't think we're close to having any answers yet. You got to hope that some good guys out there are working to rescue us from these evil SOBs, and I think that. But as far as them being straight with us, Bill, I don't know whether they know how to be straight with us.
Well, I know one thing for certain. We do not have free press. We have state media. And the reason I say that, There was, what's her name? I don't know if I have the story here or not, but the attorney for Trump, Elena Haba.
Right, Elena Haba. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, she made a comment about Nathan Wade and, some stories about that and him meeting with Biden. And she kind of dropped a bombshell, and all of a sudden the left came out and said, she doesn't know it. That's old news. Well, you know what? It might be old news, but you didn't really report it, and so it's new news to the people that didn't hear it. It is a bombshell. What are you guys protecting? Because
they don't know how
to.
They don't know how to report the news. They are the laziest group of sycophants. I'm talking about the American press. By the way, they don't practice journalism like the old reporters and correspondents did. They don't search out the story. They sit on their ass. And they wait for the story to come to them. And
they're state media.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Simple as that.
Yep.
You talk about the media and things going on. Trump was suing Stephanopoulos for slander and everything. And that's a fresh case. That was just brought up, a week ago or something like that, and then the judge said, Stephanopoulos can do his depositions remote. Yeah. Trump's got to go before a judge and yada this and yada that. And all of a sudden, they just came forward and said, we'll settle for $16 million and pay that to Trump. And my first thought is, how guilty are you? I mean, what is it that you're afraid of? Usually you'll go through the depositions and you'll walk that dog down the path a little bit. They're going, no.
You know what else they're talking about now, Bill? You know what they're afraid of?
What?
They're afraid now maybe Trump's going to go after CNN or, my God, MSNBC. Might they have embellished the description? I mean, might they have called them names too that aren't true? The answer is yes. All of these people, and the thing is now the precedent has been set. Okay, ABC settled because they did defame him, and now the word is that Trump's lining up some more of these things. He's not a stupid man. He doesn't take fools kindly. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying is, now that it's over, unless a new revelation comes out, they might feel they're free and say, wow, we got away with what we really are trying to cover up here. So I would think the others will, if he files them, will quickly cave on it because they probably got some deep state money that will probably go into Trump's pocket, which I understand he's donating,
Well, I understand now it's going to the Trump Library, presidential
there you go.
library, which will drive them nuts at ABC. By the way, speaking of being driven nuts, a lot of the people behind the scenes at ABC are furious that ABC did this because they're saying, hey, they've gone through massive cuts, personnel cuts. They've gone through contract renegotiations where they're getting less pay now at ABC, and all of a sudden, with the snap of a finger, ABC turns around and hands over $16 million to Trump. But, what amazed me is George Stephanopoulos had the gonads to go out and do a show yesterday on ABC like nothing had happened. A confirmed absolute liar goes out and by the way, he is, folks. The guy is a liar. I mean,
who's going to hire him when ABC says, "Okay, we got to cut our liabilities"? Georgie Poo, come on over here. You're a freaking liability. Get out of here, because that's what I would be saying right now. You are out.
Some people wonder what was the big deal. What did George say that was so bad? I have the cut here. He was talking with Nancy Mace, who is a rape survivor. Listen to how he treated her.
I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. It was
a civil court.
It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you
but
about
as a rape victim, who's been shamed for years now because of her rape. You're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's
and
offensive.
Again.
As a woman, I find it offensive. My political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And you courageously talked about
because I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
me. You're
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to.
You are. That's exactly.
You're not answering the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid
they're
because
judged
they're
and shamed.
By those
like you're trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald Trump has been found guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law.
You hear what he kept saying? He kept saying Donald Trump was convicted of rape. That was what they lost $16 million for. Yeah. So
and you know what? Let's be clear about E. Jean Carroll. You know, he's found liable this, and he was charged with that. Well, that was a set-up, rigged court in an area that they had all their little clapping seals that all sang to the same tune, get Trump, get Trump, get Trump. But let's talk about E. Jean Carroll's rape. Okay, he didn't admit it. There's no proof there for it, just her word against his, except one thing, one little piece of evidence. And she made the mistake to say it and do it. She sat there and said, yeah, she wore the dress that she was raped in at the trial. It had been hanging in the closet all that time. That dress was not manufactured or even designed at the time of the rape. It was just a couple of years ago. So it was a new dress. It was a lie. So if she lied about that dress, I've kept this as a remembrance of all that time. Well, she made that up. So did she make up everything else? Now, I give you a woman, if you want to talk about, what they've been known to do. She had a TV show that lasted one episode where she was drunk on stage and what the hell are you doing? And I'm sitting there going, and she's the one that said rape is sexy. So in her mind, maybe it did happen in her mind because she thought it would be sexy.
Well, let's also talk now about George Stephanopoulos, all right? He's trying to sound like he is just...
He doesn't know crap.
Well, let's talk about his background. Yeah. George Stephanopoulos was an enabler. He was an enabler for Bill Clinton.
Yep.
Now, what was Bill Clinton famous for? Monica Lewinsky, all right, where he literally sexually abused a 23-year-old intern. This was the president of the United States of America, the most powerful man on the planet, and he used his power to abuse Monica Lewinsky, who, by the way, to this day carries that scar on her. If anybody should be shamed, it shouldn't be Monica Lewinsky. She was a naive 23-year-old young woman, but for some reason, she was the one to carry the scar. In the meantime, Clinton becomes this statesman, this elder statesman. Everyone looks at him. Never mind the fact that he took, I believe, the Lolita Express to Epstein Island 26 times, and we don't know what he was doing down there. You got a pretty good idea of what he was doing down at Epstein Island. And by the way, That's one of the things they're going to find out when Trump is in office. What the story was behind Epstein Island, who went there, and what did they do? So,
who was the other woman with Clinton? Fawn Hall or something like that? Secretary for him in Arkansas.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, there was Paula. There was there was another one too. There were a number of people in his past.
And they all came out, but old George was right there to kind of help Clinton along.
He ran interference. He ran interference.
And that was always the standard line. Good friend of mine in Pittsburgh, Democrat, diehard Democrat. He goes, Bill Clinton's a good guy. If we can just keep him to keep his pants on, keep his fly closed until we get to the election. And they had people there to run interference for all the stories.
The first guy to use the description of the place that they worked in, they called it the War Room. The first guy was George Stephanopoulos and the people who were working on the Clinton campaign. Before there were radio programs that used the War Room, before Steve Bannon used the War Room as a description of what he does, before all that, way back in the early 1990s, the War Room was set up to promote Bill Clinton and to bury the negative stories about him and the people who put those negative stories out.
Yeah.
And that was George Stephanopoulos. So he's out there pretending he's the moral justice king. No. Stephanopoulos is a corrupt guy, and I would submit that he knew exactly what he was doing when he said the word rape and called Trump a rapist. He knew that it was an unfounded accusation, but he figured, hey, what the hell? I'll throw it out there. They won't catch me. They won't pick up on this. I'll make it a
say something enough, it becomes the truth.
Thank you very much, George Goebbels. George, that's Goebbels. George Goebbels was a comedian. George Goebbels. You can tell it's Monday, can't you? George Goebbels, in case you didn't know, was the propaganda minister for the Hitler regime, the Third Reich, and he did say, if you say something, a lie, long enough and hard enough, it becomes the truth. Anyway, so a lot of things going on. I would hope that we get some honest information about those drones, but I got a feeling we're going to be waiting quite some time before we get anything decent. On a different topic, we have a new senator coming out of Ohio. His name is Bernie Moreno. He was on Fox News over the weekend, and he was talking with Maria Bartiromo about the nominees and how he thinks that the nominees should be processed. And he's a Republican. He's a big Trump fan. Listen to what he said.
So I want to talk to you about the agenda and also President Trump's nominees. Are you going to support all of President Trump's nominees this upcoming hearing season in early January?
Absolutely. And I'm calling on all my colleagues to stay focused and united. Let's get every single one of President Trump's nominees confirmed quickly and efficiently, whatever it takes to make that happen. If we have to stay here through weekends, get it done. President Trump deserves his team so we can get to work.
Well, there have been some senators that have pushed back on a handful of President Trump's nominees. Do you believe that those nominees will pass?
Absolutely. I'm extremely optimistic that we're going to stay united, stay focused, deliver him his team. Look, we can't be talking about nominees past actually March. We get them all done, get them all there, and I think my colleagues are going to make that happen.
Yeah, we looked at some of the Senate responses to President Biden's nominees, and you had a number of Republicans voting yes for people like Alejandro Mayorkas and others who have, I believe, disappointed them in the last 4 years.
Yeah, and there's one key difference. These cabinet members that Joe Biden have were objectively terrible, Maria, as you know, and yet there was no ramifications, no accountability. The difference is with President Trump, if any of his nominees get confirmed and don't do the job they're supposed to do, President Trump will replace them. That's what we have to remember. Look, he got the mandate. He got the message from the American people to go out there and get his agenda completed. Our job is to give him his leadership team. Let's get that done quickly and efficiently efficiently so we can get to the business of solving the problems that Americans put us in office to get done.
All right, let's talk about some of those issues and what you're solving in the agenda. You heard my conversation with Senator Mike Lee and Representative Jason Smith, Chairman of House Ways and Means. There's a debate on what to put where. So where are you on that? Do you want to do the border bill first? Do you want to wait for tax extensions until later in 25? How will you vote?
This election was about open borders and high prices. So we have to get a reconciliation bill that deals with both of those issues immediately. So that means fund deportation, fund detention centers, fund border security. Let's get that done quickly. And I say quickly, I mean January, February timeframe. Look, this is a new day in America. This idea that Washington, D.C. has to take forever to get the things done that need to happen is completely gone and over. The American people have given us a mandate to get things done quickly and efficiently. We can get the tax cuts made permanent later in the year. We get a little muscle memory. We learn how to win. And I think we get some Democrat support. I think you'll be surprised how many Democrats will cross over once they see the successes that we can deliver for the American people.
Well, in the last Congress, there were questions about some senators' support of President Trump's agenda. There was always a question of, will Mitch McConnell support Trump? And in many cases, he didn't. Do you believe John Thune is going to be supportive of President Trump's agenda?
100% unequivocally. We have a great leader in John Thune. He knows what's at stake. He has a great relationship with the president, and we're going to move forward. Look, this is a new day in America. This is a time when we're actually going to bring this country together around a positive America First agenda. That's what was decided on November 5th overwhelmingly, and it's our job in the Senate to make certain that that happens.
Yeah, and I think President Trump was trying to communicate that yesterday when he had both Mike Johnson and John Thune in his box at the Army-Navy game. You were at the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a great day. It shows this is genuinely a new day in America. I have never felt more optimism, more pride to be an American than I do right now. Look, this is an opportunity for us to stay united, stay focused, and most importantly, Maria, we have to deliver for the American people, and we will.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of change are you expecting? Do you expect real change in terms of governance in America today once President Trump gets back?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, you're going to see a common sense agenda. We're not going to allow people to come here illegally. And if you're here illegally, we're going to kick you out as it should be. We're going to lower prices. We're going to make certain that we have peace and stability around the world. We're going to shrink the size of the federal government because we can't afford the government we have right now. We're going to open up a renaissance, especially what I want to do is around automotive manufacturing in this country, get rid of these EV incentives and mandates. And look, it's about common sense, Maria. That's what Americans want.
Senator-elect from Ohio, Bernie Moreno, he's positive about what's happening, but we got to get there first, friends, and we still have a number of days, about a month between now and Inauguration Day, and there's a lot going on. While that was playing, you just let me know something happened recently?
Well, I guess it was over the weekend, but, we didn't have it with the drone story, so Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio shut down airspace after mysterious drone incursions. Now, Wright-Patterson, they got those big planes, but they also, I believe,
you know what they supposedly have at Wright-Patterson? UFOs.
I know where you're going. Well, yeah, they got UFOs, but they also have. I'm looking for it here.
They have, for example, in 1947, Roswell, New Mexico, they took the wreckage from that craft, supposedly to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, and
right.
a lot of that kind of thing can be found in the hangars at that Air Force Base. So,
well, they've also got infectious diseases and different things like that. They have some kind of
I think
stuff there.
Isn't that Fort Detrick, Maryland?
Well, they've got it here at this base. They apparently they've got some stuff going on there too.
Huh. Well, something's up, folks. Something's up. These drones. And by the way, you cannot let 15 or 20 million strangers into this country, many of them military-aged, into this country, and just let them go and not have something like this happen. Many people said that they looked like they were trained by the Chinese army, some of these guys.
Well, I mean, you you connect all the dots. There is something going on. You got the guy from Venezuela, former commander, there sitting. Get ready for targeted assassinations, and they're in our government. They want to take control of our government. So you got that going on. We talked about the tanker that in Baltimore that hit the bridge.
Did you hear about Nancy Pelosi got a hip replacement like that?
Yeah, well, she's got that government insurance, and they boom. Look, age really doesn't have anything to do with it. You can break a hip at a young age or an older age.
She's up walking around. I mean, this happened. Yeah, this happened on Friday.
How does that happen that she's up, and if she is up walking around? Because I know someone that went through a hip replacement. They got good coverage. They're in their early 50s, and I'm sitting there going, and I remember them having a tough time, and they still have a little bit of a limp because it doesn't heal that quick. Now, my brother had it. Right. Now he goes and walks several miles, and they go, don't do that to that hip, but he does it. Mm-hmm. And but talking to him, he goes, oh yeah, it hurts, but he does it because it's kind of the don't worry, I can do it, so he does. And I'm sitting there going,
I just find it interesting that she had it. I guess it was repaired over in Europe, and the right people were there, and I guess she must have cut the line to be able to have it so quickly, done for her. I also you got to wonder. You don't hear much about how it happened. I ask you, folks, have you heard any stories about what happened to Nancy Pelosi? Did she fall downstairs? Did she fall going upstairs? Did she fall on stairs at all? Was she drinking? Was she at a party? Was she going to a meeting? Was she in a meeting? We don't know a darn thing about what happened.
Every time you see her, it's I was saying it the other day, and it wasn't a mockery, but a lot of women believe that, you got to wear those high heels. Well, that's kind of a stereotype that men cast on because, you look sexy in those heels, but women think it's a point of power. I can see where you're walking along, young or old, and you get that heel caught and you go down. It's happened to a lot of women. Think about it. If she's going downstairs or just walking along a normal path, if you're a little inebriated too, you can go down. Now, age can play a...
She also could have been pushed. She could have been
pushed, shoved.
Yeah. We don't know how much deep state information does Nancy Pelosi has. Here's what we don't know. Let's say hypothetically she has a lot of information. Now I'm talking speculation here. It's just let's say she has a lot of names and stories and information. And let's say when she has a few at a party every so often, loose lips sink ships. Then maybe she talks a little too much. Maybe the word is that Nancy can't be trusted in her old age anymore to keep our secret secret. Might that have been either a warning or an attempt? You talk about targeted assassinations. I'm just throwing this out here. We don't. Here's what I do know. I do know we're not being told the truth. Now, a lot of what I say is speculation, and much of it is wrong, I'm sure. But all of this stuff could disappear if our government was straight with us, and they're not being straight with us. They're lying to us.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're lying to us. Joe doesn't know what he's saying to us. We talked about the weather a bit. Apparently now, because of all the weird weather, he says that we need to use special Indian knowledge.
Oh, this guy is just, did you see where Hallie Biden, the former wife of Hunter, I believe, she apparently is a big Trump fan. She says... Yeah. Did you see? She said she actually missed Trump. She's kind of glad he's and she said that a lot. This was in a text, I believe, over the weekend when when people had the information about Trump going to the Army-Navy game and how happy they were to see him. I wish I could find the information. I should have it here somewhere. Do not go away. As a matter of fact, I may have it on my little telephone device here. Just please hang on. It's amazing how. Let's see. I don't.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'll make a
go
comment
ahead.
I'll make a comment about drones. I was just thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Drones don't have to fly high and on the radar. They can fly 50 below the 100-foot barrier, and they can sit there, so they could come in fast, swarm in, and get somewhere undetected. Because I was thinking about Trump and rallies, and they closed down the airspace, but I would be worried if I were at a rally and all of a sudden I saw drones, because if it's at a Trump rally, they're up to something.
Yeah, I would be nervous if I were at the Army Navy game. It's interesting. They closed down Stewart Air Force Base, 60 miles north of New York. Not Stewart Air Force Base, Stewart International Airport. What else is about 60 miles north of New York? West Point.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What's coming up on, what is it, the 20th?
The inauguration.
Well, wouldn't that be a hell of a place for the flyovers?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time. They had a picture of Maduro in Venezuela. He was speaking at his inauguration, I believe, and someone flew a drone into the site and detonated it. Fortunately, he wasn't. Maduro he's the dictator down in Venezuela. They actually ran up to him and shielded him with armor shields, which I thought was something we should do in this country. I mean, we shielded President Trump with the Secret Service bodies, but the actual security detail for Maduro had these almost 6 foot tall shields of armor, and they actually put a cordon around him to protect him. Go ahead.
So let's say you have the president and the seat of all the new power there for the inauguration, and somebody does something nefarious, and they light up the sky with a nuke and a drone, take out the incoming administration, everything. But let's just say certain people don't show up. What happens?
Certain people being who?
Oh, let's just say certain people of an opposing party. I won't go to that route.
Well, I mean, if
voted out either way.
Yeah, well, their term of office ends at noon on the 20th.
So we would be a country without a government.
We would still have a Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the House would, if you took out the Vice President and the President, the Speaker of the House would be the next in line.
If you're at the inauguration, though.
Well, if everybody's there, we'd be
all hands on deck are done.
I would think that, in all honesty, there's a what's it called? Continuing COG, I believe it's called, continuity of government, and continuity of government is there's a whole document that they've set up for what happens if the president, the vice president, and the speaker are taken out. There is another in the line, in that conga line, okay? So I don't think we'd be lost. I think they could go down 6 deep and there'd be somebody in the 7th position waiting to step in.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you're at the inauguration, your party's all going to be all hands on deck.
Well, they always have somebody who's not there. Always. They have somebody there's a designation. There was a movie about this where they have somebody who's sent over to a different part of town, and he's kept in isolation just in case the heads of state are taken out. He becomes the next president. And I can't think of what the movie was called.
Yeah.
But
too much speculation here because we don't know what's going on. I'm just saying, what if, because of all the things going on?
Well, I do know that we're not being told the truth, and I do know that. Look, as a review, they haven't closed down the major airports around New York City. I mean, talking about the big ones, Newark. You would think Newark would be the first to close. It's in New Jersey, right? It's still landing and taking off. Why would they fly these drones in with all their lights on? If they wanted to be secretive, they'd fly in with no lights on.
Well, that's why I say it's a numbing thing. And I look at, I don't like Hochul, but she came out and said, Biden's got to do something. Well, sorry, Miss Hochul, but he doesn't know how to do anything. But that tells me that there are Democrats not in the know in this. If there's somebody in the know, not everybody on either side is getting the message.
Either we're looking for something, or we're being blackmailed by somebody. We're being threatened by somebody with these drones, or these drones are on our side and they're looking for something. Either way, it ain't good. It ain't good.
Well, it's Biden that's getting the blackmail, and who knows how he's going to handle it, because it's not going to Trump yet.
Here's what you know: they're not scouting pipelines. They do that in the daytime with drones. Yeah. They're not doing a search of the interstate. They're not mapping out a grid for some kind of a civic project. They come in at nighttime and they do it in the darkness of night. The whole thing smells. You have the media finally going nuts about this stuff. It's the top of the news all the time now, and everybody denies that there's anything here. John Kirby was on stage in front of the media on Friday. That other liar in this administration. This administration, if they've done one thing good, is they've found the best liars. The Mayorkas and the Kirbys. Kirby, my God, he should be ashamed. This is a guy who was an admiral, and he just urinated his career away by going out and being a spokesman for these criminals. But then again, everybody has a price, right? I mean, there was Judas, and he was at the side of Jesus, and we know what kind of guy Judas was. Anyway, I think, Bill, we should point out that our RightSideShop.com store is open right now.
Right.
It's open 24 hours a day, as a matter of fact.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
You can still get, before Christmas, Right Side Coffee. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. And it really is Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's a medium blend roast and a medium decaf roast. And if you don't like coffee, if you can't have coffee, we got a lot of other stuff in our shop that you might be interested in for the holidays. Make perfect stocking stuffers, especially if you want to drive that liberal relative of yours nuts. I'm just saying, hopefully he or she has a sense of humor. But, I find that liberals don't have the sense of humor that you would hope that they would have. As a matter of fact, before we go, Bill, I want to play this one. It's a little cut, and I want you to listen to this. We know what Kamala has been doing, and I don't really know whether I'm pronouncing her name properly anymore, but who cares?
Kamala, I don't care.
Yeah. But, we haven't heard much from old Timmy boy, Timmy Walsh.
Oh, yes, we have, and he's stupid.
Well, yes. It's funny you should say that. Here he is talking, I believe, last week on a public radio show on one of the stations, I believe in Minnesota.
I thought it was a real flex when the Wall Street Journal pointed out that I might have been the least wealthy person to ever run for vice president. And I thought that would be something people say, well, this guy knows where we're coming from. He's had to pay his bills. He had to do, and still does. We've got to figure it out. And I feel like one of my roles is going forward here is figuring out a way to make the case to the public, the American public, is that the Democratic Party really is focused on the things they care about. And in this case, they didn't, they thought, and it might be true, not enough focus was put on inflation and the costs that those brought to people. Understanding that immigration and border control does matter to people. It doesn't mean that you're cruel or you don't care. And I think that's something that, in the 90 days I was out there, we apparently didn't make that connection strongly enough, because it was middle-class folks in a lot of cases. It was folks that were less than a college degree. These are folks that are working dang hard. I've always said that the hardest jobs I've ever did paid me the least amount of money. So there were folks that weren't voting for us would be the very folks that I care that our policies impact. And that disconnect was obvious in the results.
No, Timmy, first of all, you're Michael Jackson dancing on the stage, and your ridiculous comments. You weren't a great product. People weren't buying what you were selling.
Well, that's exactly it. He's saying that we bought the election, Well, he did say that to a degree. Timmy, you guys ran the one campaign, the richest campaign that ever. You raised over $1.5 billion. You overspent that, and you you projected absolutely nothing. And now you're talking about the border. Now you're talking about this, too little, too late. And I'm sitting there going, and then you have the gall to sit there, well, these are mostly middle-class, uneducated people. Screw you, Tim.
Timmy, go back
Just go
to
home.
Go back
Go
to
home.
what you were doing before. Make Minnesota a failure again.
Minnesota, man.
Yeah. You're a beautiful state, but I can't understand why you keep voting this guy back in. It's beyond me.
Instead of Minnesota rocks with him, you got, well, never mind.
But it's funny. It really isn't Minnesota. It's Minneapolis. They get their city burned down.
Yeah, that's an insult to the entire state.
You see, in California, it's a big effort right now to have another state, New California, and they want to get rid of their connection with Los Angeles, San Francisco, I believe, and Sacramento and San Diego. The major cities, the rest of the state doesn't want to have anything to do with them because they're pulling the rest of the state down.
But see, here's the problem. It is those major cities all alone, because in between, let's say, Sacramento and San Francisco and L.A. and San Diego, there's a big valley there of people and all spread around, a big population. And they get sucked into that liberal diatribe. North of Sacramento, there's not a lot of population. But, what I'm saying is these common people are all over the place, common sense people. It is the city strongholds, and they got a lot of them clustered in a certain area. They're still going to have a big political base of stupidity.
New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Baltimore. These are areas that are, although there is a sign of hope, even in some of these deep blue, traditionally taken for granted democratic states and cities. They showed a sign of a move to the right during this last election. Chicago had more people voting for Trump than ever before. And Chicago is taken for granted. Detroit had more people voting for Trump than ever before. Yes, they were still Democratic cities, but they were Democrat by a lesser amount, if you know what I'm saying. So maybe people catching on. Go ahead.
Trends usually are delayed in effect. You say, well, there was a little bit extra growth for, conservative values. Well, it's lagged. Let's say that they take a 3-survey standard over a 90-day period. What I'm saying is that growth in the Conservative Party, Republican Party, is overwhelming if you multiply the last trends by 3 and take out the other negative trends. That's what your real number is going forward. Now, if they can contain that or keep that momentum going, they could have a tsunami coming up here in just a couple of years, and 4 years to be exact too, as long as they sit there and hold true to their values, maintain, the steady as she goes with the party, and stay on message. I think America's all in, and they're tired of the wokeness, and the numbers are bigger than what you see right now.
Well, we got to get there. And right now, everybody's worried about. We were told between the 15th and the inauguration, 15th of December and inauguration day on the 20th, they expected something major to happen in this country.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The drones could be a warm-up for it.
Well, they could be part of it. Not just a warm-up. They could be part of it. It could be the beginning.
Well, they are, yeah. They're warming up for what they're going to do.
Yep. You got to say a prayer. It could happen at any time. If something happens during the course of the day and it's major, you might want to check back to where you normally listen to our program, because we may have a quick update, tell you what we found out and what our thoughts are on what is going on. It may not be a whole program, but it may be important enough for us to jump on the microphone, get something recorded and out to you guys, so you have a handle as to what's going on and what we think is where it's going, in what direction. So you're not getting a lot of straight stuff from a lot of the traditional news anymore. You just don't get it. You get a lot of liars. You get a lot of people who, like Bill said earlier, are towing the company government line, and they're just not real journalists anymore. At least with us, we give you, a lot of it is speculation, a lot of it is guessing, but it's thoughtful, and we do make our guesses and our speculation based upon information that we've read. We've done some research, so you might want to check back. And I would think that something could happen at any time. Would it surprise me? This is what I fear. Okay, I'm going to tell you before we end the program. What I fear the most is one of our biggest enemies is Al Qaeda. One of our biggest enemies is Iran. These are in many cases. I'm not saying it's the Muslim religion. Please understand something. I don't strike with a broad brush here. What I'm saying is that there is a faction in the religion that is radical, that is, be it Al Qaeda or ISIS, and they would love nothing more than to strike us around the Christmas holiday, during the Christian holiday in the United States. It would be incredibly satisfying for the people who don't like us, like those people. So,
and we'd make them pay, but how they pay, they think it's an honor. So,
well, they say that, and a lot of them are, I'm sure believe it, but a lot of them say it and they really don't believe it, because they really, when push comes to shove,
well, either way, they do something
go.
stupid like that, I'll be happy to oblige that honor.
Well, I'm sure. Anyway, have a great day, folks. Pay attention if you are in New Jersey, New York, Eastern Pennsylvania. Heck, even if you're in Western Pennsylvania, you're only a few hours away by car. It's not, you don't know where they're going to be, flying those things. And also, maybe they're shipping stuff around the country via truck. On containers. That's why the drones are up there trying to find them. So, they could be anywhere. Just keep your head on a swivel, and don't go through your day worried, but just don't go through your day in a daze. Pay attention.
We don't know who's flying the drones, so until we know that, we really don't have a handle on the story at all. It could be any of the things that we talked about, or maybe something more nefarious, or not quite. It could be anything, but it's not good, whatever it is.
And with that, friends, I think it's about time to wrap this one up. It's been a long one, but a lot to talk about, a lot of speculation, a lot of things to be concerned about. And we will be back again tomorrow with our regular show. Plus, if something happens during the course of the day, we'll give you an update, all right? Have a great day. I'm done here. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I think we're just going to get out of here. So without further ado, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.